we will now create our next card, which is the work experience card that we see down here. We are using the media object to position the icons from Font Awesome 5 next to our headings. And we'll see that we have a link and a date and some text. We use the collapse component to show and hide more of each of these work experiences. If we look at the responsive behavior, we can see that initially the company name and date is stacked on top of each other as block level elements. And when we increase the width to small devices and larger, we can see that we are using the flex utilities to make them align to each side and have the space between. Okay, so back in our code editor, we start with creating a new card using the div tag with the class card and MB4, so it has some margin in the bottom. Then we create an H2 heading element with the classes card header and text center, just like with the first card. We'll use the text work experience and close it again like this. Okay, now we'll add the card body using a div tag with the class card body. Inside this we can now put our content. We'll start with creating the media object. We'll use a div tag with the class media. We'll add some margin to the bottom, adding the class MB2. First we'll now create our icon. If we take a look back on the Font Awesome website here, we can see that we have 4 different styles or collections of icons: the solid, regular, light and brands icons. To use these, we must use one of these classes: FAS, FAR, FAL or FAB, and then additionally the class for the specific icon. We can also change the size by using one of these keywords: FAXS, SM or LG, or FA2X through FA10X to control the sizing of the icons, so it's not the same as the current font size, which is the default. We can also use the FW class to make the icons have a fixed width, which make it easier to align them if they have text next to them. Okay, we'll go back into our code editor and we'll now create our first icon. So we use the I tag with the classes FAB to use an icon from the brand collection, and then Facebook to use the Facebook icon. Then we'll add FW to make it have a fixed width, and FA3X to make it 3 times as large. Then we'll use a color utility, text primary, to make it have the primary color, which is blue, and the spacing utility MR2 to make it have some margin on the right side. We'll close this icon so it doesn't have any content. Now we'll create the media body using a div tag with the class media body. Inside this, we'll first create the job position using the H3 heading element, and we'll add the class H4 to make it smaller and look like an H4 heading element, and the class MB1 to make it have a little margin in the bottom. We'll now add some text here, front-end developer, and close the heading again. Now we want to add the company name as a link and the date. So first we'll wrap all this in a div tag with the classes DSMFlex to make it behave as a flex container for small devices and up. Remember that we want it to be stacked initially and then have space between these 2 elements for small devices and up. So to do this, we also need to add the justify content SM between. And we'll align these items to the baseline, so we also use the class align items SM baseline. Okay. Now we want to create the company name as a link. So we'll use the H5 heading element with the class MB0 to remove the margin. And then inside this, we'll create an anchor tag, like so. And we'll give it the text Facebook, close our anchor tag and close our heading tag again. Then we'll create the date. So we want to have this appear with small font size, so we use the small tag and then the class dBlock to make it have the block display initially, since the small tag is default an inline element, but we want it to be a block element. Then we also want to make the text uppercase using the class text uppercase, and we want to make it bold, so we add the class font weight bold as well. And finally we want to have the text muted, so the color is gray, using the class text muted. Inside this small tag we'll now add the time element with the date time attribute to format the date correctly. So the value will be 2017-01, and then we'll write January 2017. After this time element, we'll add the n-html utility. So we use the ampersand symbol and write n-semicolon like this. Now we create one more time element with the date time attribute inside, like so, and we add the value 2017-12. We can now add the text December 2017, and we'll close the time attribute again. Let's save this and have a look in the browser. We'll refresh. You can now see that initially this appears stacked on top of each other, and for small devices and up, it has the space in between and behaves as a flex box. Okay. Outside of our media object, we'll add some card text using a p tag with the class card text. We'll paste in some random text here. We'll save and have a look in the browser. Now we see that we have the text underneath our media object. Okay, we now want to copy this media. Okay, now we just need to add this horizontal rule here in the bottom, and now we can copy this media object. So we have a total of 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now let's update some values. So our second experience will be as an art director for Apple. Our third experience will be for Dropbox as a user experience designer. Our fourth experience will be for Medium as a copywriter. Our fifth experience will be for Google as a search engine consultant, and our sixth experience will be for Uber as an AR engineer. Let's save this and have a look. Refresh. Now we can see that we have the 6 different work experiences lined up here. Now we want to create the collapse function so we can show and hide 3 of these, just like here on our finished page. So we'll use the collapse component for this behavior. So I'll start with selecting the last 3 of these, like so, and wrapping them in a div tag with the class collapse. And then we need to give them an ID, which will be collapse work. We'll close this div tag here. Then we'll insert a button to toggle the collapse component. So we add a button tag with the type button, and the class is btn and btn sn to make it a small button, and btn outline primary to make it have the outline style with no background color, and then the primary colored border, which will be blue. Then to initialize the JavaScript, we need to add the data toggle attribute with the value collapse, and we also need to add the data target attribute with the value being the ID from before, collapse work, which we just added right here. Okay, then for accessibility, we'll add the area expanded attribute with the value false, and the area controls attribute with the value collapse work. So this tells the screen readers that this button controls this element. Then we'll give the button some text, show all, and close the button tag again. We'll check this in the browser. Initially we can see that only 3 of these are shown, and then we click the button. The rest of them is showed with a fading or a sliding animation. To change the text of the button, you'll need to add some more custom JavaScript, which is a little out of the scope for this project.